Good evening. It's Wednesday night again. 7:30 again. On the dot. No intro. No time wasting. There's so many important things that I need to say. So much content. I don't know how to fit it all in to just a few hours every week. There's no mucking about here. But welcome to this thing. Yeah, Carolyn, the cold open. Except I don't have a joke that can then lead into the credits. It's just this. Me and my handkerchief because a little stuffy because fall. What the fuck, man? Like fall is nuts. Fall, like there were. Maybe I'm crazy. Hold on. Let me do this. Maybe I'm misremembering a little bit. But get in there. Go on. But this was a very quick fall. I'm talking about like literally, like all the leaves fell off the trees in the past 48 hours. It's just been raining leaves. It's not been like this sort of slow, steady shedding of leaves over a few weeks. It was like nothing. And then I guess we had that cold snap, and then just you can barely see the grass. All you see are leaves now. It's amazing. It's fantastic. The world is wonderful. So fall is basically done. Halloween's over, right? So you're gonna see Christmas decorations. I mean, there probably already are. I haven't been out. I don't go out very often. There's probably Christmas decorations up at stores already. I don't know what to do with that shit. I don't even want to be bombarded with that, reminded of the stress that brings. At least as much stress as it brings joy. Maybe a little more. I don't know. Depends on you. It can vary from person to person. I'm aware of that. I'm on the new mic tonight, so if there's anything that sounds weird or too loud, I've noticed the gain on this mic is a little hotter than the gain on my older mic. My older mic, which I still love. I almost think, when I listen to my voice on this mic, it's a little bit less harsh. I almost think I prefer this mic to this mic, but time will tell. And I don't have a matched stereo set of these mics. I only have a matched stereo set of these mics, the other one of which I'm not using at the moment. But if there's anything weird that sounds weird, please let me know. So episode 86, it's ominous, happening just after Halloween. I have some stuff in mind. I wanted to make these things a little more themed. It seemed to go well the last time when we were talking about, excuse me, that's just the mucus flowing down the back of my throat and then getting stuck in my vocal cords that that I then have to clear, which really just kind of moves it out of the way to the walls of my throat and then slides back down and gathers back up again. and then I gotta cough again. It's the human body is a delight. It's nothing like thinking about the actual biological processes going on every moment that you are alive. They're horrific. Yeah. I've been dealing with headaches, recurrent headaches. I've been dealing with them for years, but they've increased in frequency recently. Going to get Polaroids taken of my brain in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to that. I talked about this last time. It wasn't officially a Beyond the Double Red Doors stream. It was last week I did some off-the-cuff streaming. Wait, last week? Man, my perception of time. Monday, 2 days ago. And I actually successfully, I couldn't believe this. I was expecting this to go wrong. There were 1,000 points of failure, any one of them. And had I done this, I guarantee had I done this on like an official stream, it would not have worked. But because it was just kind of ad hoc, I was able to stream the MetaQuest 2 and stream myself doing it. I went back and looked at it. Man, the screen's really dark. Really dark. I mean, I think that's part of it. They should account for that when you're casting to a screen that's not going to envelop your entire field of vision. They know they need to juke up the brightness and contrast in that case. They should account for that in their casting. They don't. I could have accounted for it, but I wasn't really aware of it at the time. But played the first episode of Vader Immortal, and whatever, man. I fucking loved it. Meta is what meta is, but as far as immersive gameplay experiences like that, I'm perhaps and look, I used the Oculus when the Rift first came out. God, more than 10 years ago. Y'all remember Palmer Luckey? And I found it interesting then, but I was definitely more into it now, even though I know Vader Immortal is not like a brand new game or anything, but, it's a year or two old, but I would eat that shit up. I could do that shit. And there are times when I could do that, and then times where I would want a more sedentary experience, right? But anyway, so successfully was able to stream that, which was surprising for me. Didn't seem to, I feel like it doesn't translate well as an experience for people watching, and not just because of the darkness. I mean the literal darkness, not the metaphorical darkness. But of course the metaphorical darkness doesn't really help either. So yeah, Polaroids in my brain coming up. And tonight, to continue with last week's sort of theme, I thought tonight we could talk about love. Let's talk about love tonight. Specifically, I was kind of thinking about the ways in which, this is not original, not even close by any stretch of the imagination, but the ways in which we behave aberrantly, the stupid things that we do in the grips of, or in the service of, or in the pursuit of trying to find or stay in a relationship or find love of some kind. Maybe it's not, maybe platonic, whatever it is, right? Because I've certainly done like some stupid shit. Some self-destructive stuff. Some, there's been a lot of... I do have a big nose. But a lot of behavior wherein, I don't look beyond the end of my nose. And the physiology of it is pretty interesting because you can, or certainly I can, manage to trick myself into thinking that what I'm doing is the right thing. Come up with all sorts of reasons for it, and essentially arguing myself into a corner wherein I do the thing that I sort of a priori already decided I was going to do, but I gotta have my reasons justified, so that when my conscience pricks me as I'm trying to go to sleep, I have my arguments ready to kind of fire back and say, well, no, really, this is for the best, because bullshit. Right. So I want to talk about that and get people's stories about that, and maybe even do some call-ins tonight if anybody is up for it. Let me say hi to everybody. Hey, colorful Stacy Holofox. Jeff, how are you doing? How's Lexi doing? Pivy. I know the clocks have not changed yet. When does daylight savings time end? No, that's this week. Well, at least for the U.S., it's this weekend, the 6th. Scare me. Has not changed for us over here. Should never change. Should be abolished. No reason why. We have to adhere to this custom. I'm shocked at the amount, how quickly we've gone back to shaking hands. I will not shake somebody's hand, but it seems like people are shaking hands again. And I just don't get that. There's no need to do it. Unless you want to get sick. Hey, Wraithwin. Nasha, how are you doing? Oh, wow, Nasha. Great way to phrase that. Friends and sailor. Fuck you. Hey, this Carolyn, of course. This guy, not sure. Oh no, I recognize your profile picture, but not your name. Intro is snazzy. Think about bringing it back. Well, so the reason I don't like the intro, or one of the reasons I don't like the intro, apart from it being a crutch, is then like there's just this dead space. Whenever someone mouses over the video, if they haven't seen it, that's what they see. It's just like a black screen. Right? So it's just sort of like, it's not, obviously I'm not, it'd be ridiculous for me to say I was going for a wide audience at this point, but I don't want people to be like actively deterred from clicking, because when they hover over the thumbnail, they see a black screen and nothing else, which is essentially what the intro does to every one of these. So that there's a pragmatic reason, self-serving reason. Maybe I could make the intro more. There's just a lot of stuff I could do with the intro. They all would involve work. So I don't want to pledge that I'm going to do that anytime soon. Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right? Like, being a Florida boy, the lengths of the days don't change that much. strange. I mean, I'm sure most people know this, right? But like near the equator, it's not even just that the days don't change as much. They don't get anywhere near as long, right? So like where I live now, we have like at the spring equinox, is it whatever? We have like a almost a 16-hour day. I think 16 hours of sunlight, 15 and a half hours of sunlight on the longest day. It never gets, down south you never get that much. But then, yeah, it comes around this way and you're like, what the fuck? Even with like setting the clocks back, everything is still shit. And it's dark before you're done with work. That's really what it comes down to, at least for 9 to 5ers, right? Is like, in my opinion. If it's dark when you leave work, then it really feels like your life is spent at work. Fuck that, man. Confuseome. I don't know that it's been a while since you've caught up. Okay, well, it's good to see you. I don't remember your name, though. It's good to see you. Whomever you are. Andy. Hey, Katerina. Hey, how are you doing? Andy's he shows up and then goes AFK. There's no reason to be FK. There's no reason to be K. You'll be AFK. Just listen. I've got so much interesting stuff to say. It's fascinating. It's not repetitive at all. I certainly don't go on and on about like particular subjects or people. For instance, Elon Musk, who I got to bring up because one of the most sort of just a hilarious interaction and a deep insight into both his inability to censor himself, I guess his impetuousness and his inability to kind of see himself for what he is or see the results of his actions when he was talking about like this $20. First of all, like the dude's supposedly an engineer and knows something about software development, but doesn't know the difference between a premium feature or like a premium and like a security feature, right? By choosing to charge for people to get a blue tick, you're taking something that was meant to increase the enjoyability of the user experience, the user being the vast majority of Twitter users who do not have the check, right? Supposed to improve their experience by allowing them to know like, oh, wow, this person is actually who they say they are. And instead turning it into just like a pay-to-win feature that doesn't mean anything anymore. Not only does he not recognize it for what it is, but by monetizing it all, he's removing any value it has, except for the value it has to a certain type of person, right, who would want to have that tick regardless of whether it means a damn thing or not, because it has like this historical idea of being, oh, I wish I could get Twitter verified, whatever, because it has that historical value. He's going to completely destroy that value, but it may take a little while, which means a lot of people are going to pay for that thing before that value is completely obliterated, right? And the stock price will probably go up in the short term. What, like, the guy is so transparent. I don't get it. I don't understand the hero worship behind Elon Musk, a man who manages to be really bad at a lot of things. But the funny interaction that I'm specifically referring to was he basically got schooled by a, I don't know, Stephen King. Is he even a boomer? He might be Silent Generation. He's either Silent Generation or a boomer. If he's a boomer, he's an early boomer. but basically, like Stephen King had a fantastic point, right? Which is the celebrities. Let's just say, I'm going to call them celebrities, but what I mean is like people of interest. I don't follow celebrities. I follow people. Let's say people of interest. Well, but that's not enough. They have to be. Celebrities are providing content for Twitter. Like that's the market there is, and that's the allure of Twitter is that, well, one, you can just say whatever the fuck you want generally, right? And you're going to be able to be as racist and disgusting as you like in the near future. I am locked out of Twitter. Has not told me how long I'm locked out for, because I insulted Elon Musk. I did more than insult him, and I shouldn't have done it, but it was just pissing me off. But I was also curious. I was like, well, has this gone into effect yet? Can I tell someone I want them to not be alive anymore? You can't. Can't do that yet. Keyword yet. But anyway, so you have these people of influence, these people who are of interest to people, who Twitter provides kind of the most immediate, the closest thing they're ever going to get to like the inner monologues of these people, because it's so easy to tweet, and that has value. I think that has value like across the board. It's nice to see, to some extent, like it's going to sound like I'm almost praising Elon Musk here when I say like the way you can see him thinking before he speaks. Like in some cases, it's nice to like see the thought process exposed before it gets to the nice, shiny, finished PR, been pined over every word before it's actually delivered to the masses, right? Take on things. To some extent, it's nice to see that. If those things don't cause panic, like mass panic, you're not shouting fire in a theater, right? You're not doing something that could cause marginalized people to be hurt or isolated in any way. I like that part of Twitter. I like this is when we were calling out like the things that we didn't like about ourselves. I take some joy in seeing others do stupid shit. So, to some extent, like, it's funny. I was looking through, I found an old iPhone that I have here because I'm getting, I don't want this to turn, it's not going to turn into an equipment thing, but I'm getting finally, they've come out with a device that allows an HDMI signal to go to an iPhone, which means I can monitor any of my cameras on my iPhone. But I didn't want to use my main iPhone, so I dug up my old one. Man, there. I guess you guys hopefully don't find that distraction. I find the racing that goes on so distracting, and the helicopters so distracting. Can't stand it. What was I talking about? Oh, so I was looking at the photos that I have on this old phone. So many of them are screenshots of Donald Trump tweets. Because I can't believe he just fucking said that. I've got to grab a screenshot before he deletes it. And most of the time he didn't delete it. I was like, there's no way he's leaving this up. And he would leave it up, usually. There were a few things that he did delete. For whatever that's worth. But so seeing there's value in that, right? Stephen King basically said exactly when he was much more. He is his own editor at this point, although you wouldn't know it if you read his latest book, Fairy Tale. That book could have used an editor. Well, I'm sure it had an editor. It could have used a second editor to go back and say, like, cut another 10,000 words out of this. Anyway, Stephen King basically said exactly what I said here, which is, hey, I'm providing value for this platform. I'm not going to pay you $20 to provide value. And Elon Musk's response was, how about $8? Which just like goes to show it's the same amount of thought he put into, well, I'm going to put in an edit button, right? Like, and then, well, how would the edit button work, Elon? Well, how, Elon, how would an edit button be any different than deleting the tweet and then tweeting the new tweet? In what way would it be different? Well, you'd be able to, I guess you couldn't keep the likes because then you'd be able to keep the retweets. No, you couldn't do that. Quote tweets, you couldn't keep those. You'd have to clear out all the retweets, the likes, and the quote. The date would be the same. And the algorithm that surfaces it, if there is a part of that algorithm, which of course there is, that is based on when something was posted, when something is news versus olds, right? That algorithm would treat the edited tweet like a new tweet or like an old tweet. It seems like that would be very confusing. Like people would be talking about tweets and they'd be talking about different versions of a tweet. They'd be like, hey, did you hear what Khloe Kardashian tweeted? Did you see that? And then someone's going to say, yeah, that was horrible. The other person's going to be like, what are you talking about? It was amazing. You guys are both talking about the same thing, but it was edited. No thought into it. Editing a tweet is the same as deleting a tweet and then doing the new tweet. So, but just seeing how quickly he was just like an auction barker. Can I get 8? Like it was about the money. Like Stephen King was really like, no, $20 is too steep. Like, did Elon Musk really think that like Stephen King's problem with it was that he couldn't afford $20 a month? Like, we'll make it 8. There you go. I just made Stephen King so happy. Makes me sad that he's even in a position where he gets to interact with anybody, much less people of Stephen King's caliber. He shouldn't have that kind of power. Billionaires shouldn't exist. I never repeat myself. So, but in that way, like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, great. This, surely people will see this and they'll be like, really? This guy's a fucking idiot. What else can we, maybe we get Stephen King to get him to do other stuff. Hey, Mr. King, can you tweet that maybe he deliver on some of the broken promises that he's made? Can you tweet that maybe he should stop lobbying to end the government subsidies that he's benefited from? It's upsetting. And people are saying like, and there were even like responses to, there was, it had to be a troll, but I'm sure I'm sure these people exist, like a group of people who feel like one of these responses, which was to Stephen King, the only reason you're still relevant is because of this platform. Okay. I mean, as far as social media platforms go, Twitter has had an extraordinarily long life. Twitter should have died. And I would bet that Twitter would have died if Trump had not won the 2016 election. And I'm not saying that because I went and looked at the stock prices. Speaking of money, yeah, I bought tickets. I bought tickets for the Powerball. $1.2 billion, which, by the way, second largest jackpot ever, and would still only be an eighth of the amount of money that Elon Musk lost in the last week. But yeah, if I win the Powerball, I'm afraid you you shan't be seeing me again. I will not make it to 100 episodes. I apologize. Or maybe it will, but I will. Oh, man. Let me tell you, you thought I had a problem with lights and cameras before? Just imagine. Oh, my God. Now I'm starting to imagine it. It would be the biggest production. And in giant sweeping moving cameras, a huge hall. It would dwarf the Today Show, any of those live shows. It would dwarf, or it would be on the scale of that. And in the end, the content would still be me opening a fucking Coke can and holding it up to the mic. Wait. That's good though, isn't it? No, if I win the Powerball, of course I'm going to give everybody every repeat. I'm not giving Chad shit. Chad's not getting a dime. Q, Nasha, Colorful, Katarina, Jeff, Lexi, Pivy, who else? Olivia, Carolyn, of course. I'd go back, like Chels, I'd go back to some people who used to be here and aren't anymore. I would find Václav, wherever Václav is, give him something. Elxie, yes. Absolutely. But Chad, no. Chad gets left. Ms. Chad gets left out in the cold. Oh, I have not read about this yet. I assume it's wireless. More than a PS5. I mean, is it even going to be available? People still are paying way above MSRP for a PS5. Interstellar Sea Cow. Good evening. All right, I got to... Warp Raven, how are you doing? See, Warp Raven would be getting money, definitely. If I win the lotto, Warp Raven, you're getting money. All right, I gotta come down to the bottom here. I'm sure people were sick of what I was saying, and probably mentioning that. That's seems to be the gist of what I'm reading here. I mean, gonorrhea is not a big deal. She could get gonorrhea. I don't think that's anywhere near what she deserves. Like, she needs more than a round of antibiotics, doxycycline. Get down. Wow, people talking. Damn right. Hey, it's on sale. It's going cheap. Bargain basement prices. The haunted house video that I put out, I'm not looking for sympathy, but the haunted house video that I put out on Halloween, the lowest viewed video I've had in 5 years. Which is fucking awesome. Makes me very... it's freeing in a way. It feels freeing. Hey, Alan. Alan is here. Yeah, I wonder this too. Yeah. And I occasionally, hear from Arabisadora, who is doing well. Who is Chad? Who is Chad? This is Chad. Chad is the frustrated... really the seed for why I started doing this. It kind of goes back to Chad to a large extent. He was present on the night when I could not find the exit from the theater in The Last of Us 2. And everybody, like, nobody's ever hated me. I've never felt more hated than in those 10 minutes of trying to find that exit. And when I did find it, it was, guess what? Beyond to a set of double red doors. You want a yacht? You'll get a schooner and like it. Holy shit. Well, that's what actually that's cheaper than the MetaQuest Pro. It's about the same price, a little more than the MetaQuest 2 with 256 gigs. I mean, it has to be. If it's not wireless, it's not going anywhere. In my opinion. The only reason that the MetaQuest is tolerable to me is ease of use. Like they finally made, the Oculus was never easy. The Vive was never easy. Book is so nice. Okay. All right, I got to get down to the bottom here. Oh, good night, Olivia. Thank you for dropping by. No, but he was more than a troll, Jeff. He was not a troll. He was a genuine. He was not patient with my inability to get things done. He wasn't really a troll. He was actually quite supportive until my ineptitude just sort of pushed him over the brink. He couldn't take it anymore. Well, here you go. Nasha's is saying it. Yeah. I was pretty dumb. Yeah. Whoa, really? Whoa. That seems like it's going to be DOA. Right? For me, it is. Like, one of the wonderful things about the MetaQuest is I can go anywhere, set up my Guardian space, not worry about shit, grab it from wherever it is and just go. Like the being tied down to a place and a space. I feel like that's going to kill it. How could they, in the face of the Quest, how could they do that? I have a feeling this is sarcastic. Click to relax. I'm guessing you don't think it was a cool story. Not wireless? The fuck? Oh my God, Ms. I'm very jealous. So Garth Marenghi has come out with Teratome, a new collection. He's a comedian whose real name is Matthew Holness, but he came up with Dark Place and he cast Matt Berry in the series in which Matt Berry said, "You and he were buddies, weren't you?" Arguably kicking off Matt Berry's bizarrely cadenced speaking career. Oh, Nasha. Oh, I would... Please go. Oh my gosh. I wish that he would make it to the U.S., but of course he won't. But anyway, so that's my rant. In under 40 minutes, I was able to do that. Oh, one thing. So I this weekend I went on a couple of minor excursions. I like to take photographs of stuff, you know. So I will, on a scooter, I will scoot around to different parks, you know, in the area, and I will take pictures of things. And I'm always like, that you always see like those pictures of like the only way to really shoot animals, and then it's somebody with a camera, right? Instead of a gun. You do no harm. Because you're using a camera, not a gun. And I throw myself in that boat, and I'm like, yeah. Not doing any. Is Q okay? I mean, Q is not obligated to be here. Would Q's absence be enough to warrant concern? Yeah, no, I am still scooting, and I mean, I'm trying to be more active and be in better shape. No, it's not a snake. I'm not about to show you all a snake. And what happened here was I was by a creek. I was in a creek, sort of going from rock to rock, looking for interesting things in the creek, and thought, hey, might be something interesting under this rock that I just stepped on, and then stepped off. Let me flip this rock over. And there was something interesting under the rock. It's a yellow-tailed skink. A yellow-tailed skink was under the rock. What you don't see there is that in stepping on the rock, I had crushed its head, and it was dead, flailing its yellow tail around. Just the yellow tail going all over the place. You can't really tell there, but its head is beyond repair. It's gone. So I felt bad. This was near Dildo Creek. This was not. Oh, Old Man Hiver is bringing up tiptoes. Do I dare do it?
Tiptoe, I miss my tiptoe. He goes wherever I go. I miss my tiptoe.
There we go. That's what you get. Yeah, so I was thrilled, like initially, to see a yellow-tailed skink. And then, very sad that I had destroyed said yellow-tailed skink. Oh, I've got it ready. I've got that one ready. I've got this one ready.
Like, I don't know if that thing that they just did with the COVID is, like, panned out or not. But if it did, that's, like, somebody should probably be looking into that.
The man who almost made me want to shave my beard. I haven't been using the... Oh, I don't have my sound effects on. Let me unmute that.
Aquaman!
Aquaman. I have not been using this much lately. Don't forget, if you want a Ridge wallet, I say this as a joke, but I am actually still using my Ridge wallet. It has not fallen apart. They have ones now with little divots for air tags. I mean, I do like it. Oh, Hiver is just... That is not... You can blame Hiver for this.
More than what we think we deserve.
That's all. It's coming out of the woodwork. That's about all I got, though. Oh, I got this.
Prince Andrew?
The Angelica soundbite. And of course,
I believe that truth will save the world. So,
I can't even listen to that one all the way through. I have to stop it. So I wanted to talk about the point of what we're talking about. The things that we've done for love or because of love that were stupid. Or, maybe not stupid, but wrong, poor decision making. Decision making that is tainted. Oh man, this camera is not exposed properly. That camera's not exposed properly. Tainted by the physiological thing that we call love. Oh man, Alan, you have one? Yeah, honestly, I got my only thing is like the Ridge wallet is stupidly expensive, and you can get a knockoff, for 10%, 15% of the price of a Ridge. I think the design is actually pretty good. So I'll start, but I'm hoping that in my openness and in my willingness to expose myself as more than just someone who can't find the most obvious exit in a video game, but someone who has done, like I've done horrible thing. Oh, exactly. I should have clipped that. Didn't think of it. But that's brilliant. I remember hating that moment when it first came out. I remember watching the first episode and feeling like that last 15, 30 seconds felt like a bad romance, like a novel that would have had Fabio painted on the cover. Danielle Steele or, whomever. It felt very soap opera-ish to me. Like the way that the things I do for love, it was just silly. So, okay. Yeah, so right off the bat, right, I seem to get involved in long-distance relationships. Why? On one hand, it's clear, or it seems like it would be clear. I meet people frequently online. And it's very unlikely that those people are going to be living in the same state or even the same country. So that's more of a general penchant that I have, and it's a problem that my psychiatrist has brought up before, that it's a way for me to keep intimacy at arm's length. But I kind of think that's bullshit. I think it's more like I'm not good at person-to-person interactions in that initial stage. And I need the safety of like by the time I actually meet somebody, I would like to be fairly sure that we're gonna at least, like each other, There's nothing worse. Like online dating is just terrible. It's like you meet someone, they're either just like totally uninterested and you can tell, or you're like being like, okay, this is not going to go anywhere, but I'm going to try and be polite for the duration of this cup of coffee or what have you. It's interesting. So I've had several long distance relationships. Yeah, that started that way. I've had some that started that way, and then we ended up moving in together. Most of my long-term relationships have started that way. Most of them. Yeah, Andy, I'm with you. Oh, Pivy, you broke up. And it was less sad. I wonder if that, I'm sure that has something to do with the distance, you know. Kit, is this a Kit I know? Is this Kit Fox by any chance? Yeah, this was, I mean, the literal distance, which then sort of translates into being able to control some amount of the emotional distance as well. Carolyn. This is what is like, this is why, like, to me, I was always like, how come somebody doesn't have an app where it's like, if you're out and about and you see somebody, you know, that you think is cute or something like that, you have an app and you can register that. And if that person also has the app and also feels the same way, then they will let you know. And then you can choose to act on it or not. Sort of like like a Tinder kind of thing, but it'd be more like spatially based and right in the then, you know. Because you got to wonder, right? Like, all the times that you are maybe find someone attractive in some way, but you are just too shy or too, you know, I mean, there's 1,000 reasons, right? It could just not be an appropriate setting. A bunch of reasons why you might not ever act on it, but you got to wonder, like, did you meet your soul? I don't believe in soulmates, or rather, the idea of like a single person being your one soulmate. I think that's a load of horse shit. Obviously, I hope I say that like it's a hot take. I would think that that's obvious to everybody. Otherwise, it would just be such an amazing coincidence that so many people's soulmates go to the same high schools that they did. But yeah, when you think about like the number of times that maybe that has happened and nothing has ever come of it, it seems like a shame. Of course, an app like that could get abused pretty easily, probably. Yeah. Exactly, Caroline. Yeah. This is yes, you were phrasing it much better than I am. Yeah. So I would imagine, just by virtue of, like, there's a bit of a selection bias here, right? Like, we're all right now watching a YouTube live stream, and just the very fact that we're doing that predisposes us to some kind of online dating activity. You met a man who should have been your brother. A whole planet between us. Yeah. Well, so, I mean, the human experience, I mean, well, it can be pretty different, but there are, for a lot of people, there are going to be fundamentals that are the same. And, like, let's not get into, like, archetypes and things like tarot reading, etc. Oh, Alan, this is how you met your wife. Yeah, I had... This is, not... Like, sometimes you just got to take a chance. I've done some... I met somebody, and this was in the this is pre-MySpace even. This was probably Friendster, I guess it was. Maybe it was MySpace was around at the same time. just, to be clear, I do not watch Woody Allen anymore. But this was, the turn of the century, and I was a huge Woody Allen fan, and she was also a huge Woody Allen fan. And it just so happened that Woody Allen was opening his first play on Broadway, or off Broadway, but in New York. His first play in like 20 years or something like that. And we just, like, crazy idea, just like out of nowhere. I was like, at the time I lived in Florida. She lived in South Carolina, and we were like, oh, why don't we go see that Woody Allen movie, or that Woody Allen play, sorry, in New York City. We'll just drive up, and we can meet and hang out, and see if we like each other. And we ended up dating for 6 years. All thanks to Woody Allen. I think the play was called Riverside Drive, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was called. Wasn't great, but that was hardly the point. But that is like red flags everywhere, right? Like today, imagine that now, right? No, you would not do that. You would not do that. I remember, wow, I have not thought about this in a long time, but she told me she had a boyfriend, and that her boyfriend wanted to, meet me when I picked her up. And I got there, and she was like, no, I don't actually have a boyfriend. I just wanted you to think that. Yeah, I'm a harmless person, but I'm a harmless person in that way, but it certainly is it was a dangerous thing that she did. And I've had that happen a couple times. Not quite in that situation. Like, that situation could have gone south really badly. Like, even just the drive, just like imagine like a 16-hour drive with somebody who you just like don't hit it off with at all. I think I had I was listening to a book on CD or something, and she thought that was odd. But anyway, that was that. I think that's not the craziest thing that I've done. I did meet someone and then move, not even like, I got a job offer, and I was like, well, if I do this move, then I will be closer to this person. Still wasn't very close, but it was close enough. And then we started dating and we met at some kind of convention. It was law related, actually. So that was a little more traditional, but that was really, really nerve-wracking. Well, I don't know how much I want to go into this, but yeah, I did. It was the same thing with Ardra, right? Like, Ardra and I talked online for a while, and then met up, and then that obviously that didn't work out in the long run, but for a while it worked. But yeah, that was strange. I've met a few people through the YouTube thing, which makes it feel a little bit scummy sometimes. Feels a little scummy. But it's not down to the fact that it was through YouTube. It's more down to the fact of like the things that I did in that situation. Like, I have done some crappy stuff in the past. Like, just not been reliable or loyal or dependable. And just a lot of it has been like self-sabotage. I don't really know why. But that's being too generous to me, I think. I just lost sound there for a minute. That was bizarre. Did the sound go out for you all, or was that just, maybe that was just my monitoring sound that went out? I just went mute for a minute there. Vampire Freaks Warp Raven. What is Vampire Freaks? Well, it depends what you mean by scummy. It depends what you mean by scummy. I mean, I've been in relationships where I've been unfaithful. I don't necessarily mean that like I've, taken advantage of a power dynamic, although it's hard to know. It's hard to know. Like if somebody likes you, you kind of like, you're de facto, like the power dynamic shifts in your favor. It's tough. Okay, so I'm getting conflicting reports here for a second and did not notice. Wait, what is Vampire Freak? Now, Ms., that you've said we don't talk about it, now I definitely want to talk about it. And I'm not going to do the thing that I get mad at other people for doing and be like, well, what is this thing? I don't know what it is, and there's no way for me to find out. I am just going to look it up. Vampire Freaks, goth clothing. I don't really know. What is that? Oh, it was on MySpace, but for more alternative people. The first dating website I remember that I was on was literally called Makeout Club. This would have been in the 90s. It's called Makeout Club. So I don't know how, that seemed pretty alternative at the time. I think it went like Makeout Club to Friendster to MySpace. And then there even was a band I liked, Unrest. Well, they had a song called Makeout Club. I don't know, maybe the site took the name from the song. I don't remember. Oh, okay. Somebody sent me the wiki link, huh? Somebody sent me the wiki link. Goths and Rivet Heads. Launched as a social networking site in 1999. Clothing store added in 2001. And the social network element was removed in February of 2020. Wow. I'm surprised I never knew about this site at all. That's interesting. Oh, skip to the controversy section? Oh, boy. Do I want to know? Triple homicide. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, this is a would you like to have a seat Chris Matthews kind of territory. Wow. Jesus. Okay. All right. Well, no wonder they shut down. Although these things seem to have happened in the early aughts, and they didn't close until 2020. No, is it important? It was sent. I received it. emails. I mean, I do check email sometimes. I'm not good at getting back via email. So, is that not what I said, Chris Matthews? Is that what I said? Or did I say Steve Matthews? If somebody wants to call in and talk about an experience that they have had that caused them to behave in an aberrant way, let's just say aberrant, then yeah, please, let's get it going. Email to adeadsymbol@gmail.com. Okay, well, yeah, okay, let's do this. I mean, I'm feeling chatty. Like, we can keep it on topic. That would be good. Give me a moment. All right, it's actually been a little while since I've done this, so hold on. I gotta get the window up. Kind of stuff I should do beforehand. Yes, copy link. Thank you. So we're calling in to talk about experiences that we have had that have caused us to behave differently. All right. Got a few people who have written in, and the invites are out. Well, Ms. did not email. So, cannot hand over the mic to someone who did not email in. He does not want to take part. Maybe went to go see Garth Marenghi, I hope. So, I mean, abhorrent, Stacey, what I mean is, it made you behave, abhorrent. It made you do something stupid. It made you, it's clear, right? My hair looks funny? Now you've got me. What looks funny about my hair? What is weird about my hair? You got me feeling weird about my hair. God, thanks. Okay, Ms. will call in next time. That's fine. We don't have to. I mean, I've sent the link out, so people call in, they call in. They don't, they don't. Don't forget to subscribe. Ouch. What else have I done? Yeah, I've ended relationships. I've moved 1,000 miles. I once moved just because there was like a possibility that there could be a potential to rekindle something. And that was with the person who I ended up marrying and divorcing, but who I'm, very close with. Really? This is it? This is all we got? Come on, y'all. There had to be like some crappy stuff that people have done, crappy things that people have done If you got the link and you want to call in, literally all you have to do is click the link. There is no other step between two. There's no step 2. Oh shit, Carolyn. Do you feel like you have it again? That sucks. That sucks. I have not gotten my 3rd booster. 2nd or 3rd booster. Andy is in. All right, let's give this a shot. I don't think we've ever spoken, so let's give it. See what happens here. It's gonna take me a minute, probably, to hear you and to be able to do this right. But okay, I'm gonna bring you in now. Andy, can you hear me? No, we don't got nothing. Hold on. Try now.
Okay, what about now?
Yes.
Ah, awesome. Hello, everybody.
I gotta pop
Go on.
one of these out so I can hear you a little better.
Perfect.
Have you called in before, Andy?
No. Actually, I haven't been watching that many streams until pretty recently. Just have you on background noise while I'm doing data collection for my lab job. So, what's up? Hi, everybody.
Background noise. I think that's a good way to describe.
Yeah, the Twitter rants with Elon Musk kind of soothe me, I guess. Gets me through the long hours. Why not?
What is? Can you say what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I am working remotely for a professor of mine in Canada. He does research on memory. So right now, the experiment is basically trying to see if we can get 2 witnesses to basically trick each other into not really remembering, but recalling the wrong things, in a nutshell.
So like the subjective nature of memory?
Yes, absolutely.
That's fascinating because that's actually something that I was talking about with, getting some feedback there, was talking about with a friend of mine who was here, and I actually did like a little bit of a live stream with, but like someone I've known since we were both 15 or 14 years old, and we both had pretty different recollections of how we met and what led to us meeting, and like certain sort of really specific events that I was certain I attributed to him, and he was like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. So the idea of like selective memory, or even just like thinking that you did something and then you repeat it to yourself a certain amount of time, and after 10 or 20 years or whatever it is, like it's indiscernible to you from something that actually happened. Pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, what we're finding in the study, I won't harp on this for too long, but what we're finding in the study right now is that you can basically alter people's recollection of events pretty much within a couple minutes of the event even happening. Like you don't even need to have seen the same event, basically. Because what we're doing right now is we're actually showing 2 witnesses 2 slightly different versions of the same event, and then asking them questions as if they watched the same event. And so what we're finding is that they're actually constantly sort of changing their answers depending on who basically seems more confident is what we're going with. We don't know if that's really the case yet. But
So you have them together when you're asking them the questions?
Yes.
So they hear
So
what
we
the other
send
one's
them into-
saying.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're sending them into separate rooms, basically. We're doing it online, but we send them into separate pages to watch a video sort of individually, and then maybe in one video a lady will steal cash, and then in another video the lady will steal like a credit card or something like that, or a cell phone. And then we ask them, well, what did the woman steal when she went downstairs or something like that? And then they'll kind of disagree, and then if they're not sure and the other guy seems more certain, then okay, fine, I trust you.
So the loudest voice in the room is winning.
Yeah, well, that's I don't want to speak for the people who are actually running the study, but that's kind of my impression. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not surprising, right? Like that definitely feels like, I mean, not just in memory, but just sort of like in life in general, sort of the loudest voice in the room, sort of seeming to be the most reasonable just by virtue of being loud and what is the Dunning-Kruger effect? Dunning-Kruger effect? Is that? Are you familiar with that?
No. Have you heard of the Asch conformity experiments?
I don't think so. At least not by name. Can you tell me a little bit?
So
Can you up your gain a little bit, Andy, or get a little closer to your mic? Is there?
Yeah, I have no mics here. I hope that's not a massive problem.
Where are you? Is it your headphones that? Like, what's actually are you talking into? What is?
No, it's just my laptop. I've just got a basic setup here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can hear you fine.
Okay. Perfect. Good.
But anyway, so I'm sorry. You were saying the Asch.
Oh right. We're so off the relationships thing right now, but the Asch conformity experiments are basically a really famous set of tests that they ran, where basically they have one participant that gets put in with a panel of actors who are paid to act like participants, and so they'll show them some really simple questions like which of these lines is the longest or something like that, and then let's say you have line A, B, C, and B ends up being clearly the longest, and then all the actors say A, for example, even though it's clearly the shortest line or something like that. The real participant consistently will just go with the crowd, right? So it's not necessarily, I don't know if it necessarily harps on the point of being about like the loudest voice, but maybe just sort of trying to fit in and not cause too much trouble.
And playing off people's insecurities and maybe like questioning their own memories, like their own version of reality, which kind of calls into question like the idea of the subjectiveness of reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's frightening.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know. I think a lot of the time you just kind of have to have faith in your senses and faith in your fellow human being, I guess. But it is kind of spooky to see that.
Oh, I don't. I would not advise the latter. Faith in your.
Okay.
That's what's causing the problem here. Is faith in your fellow human being, right?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's what
Just
we're
a bit, or
finding.
wait, you're not. This is a famous experiment that was done. So your experiment is zeroing in more on if you can actually make people believe that they saw something that they didn't see. Is that?
Yeah, so it's kind of up for debate as to whether or not we're actually making them believe that they saw what they did or didn't, I guess.
Or if they're just saying.
Yeah, or if they're just like socially conforming, or if we're actually retroactively like changing their recollection of events, which would be fucking crazy.
How would you be able to discern that? Or is that part of the study to try and discern that? Or is that?
No, so the study we're doing right now is mostly just to kind of prove the point. We're kind of testing, okay, I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but we're kind of testing whether or not the effect exists at all. And it's a pretty popular, or at least well-known effect inside like memory research circles, as far as I understand. But what we're actually trying to do is just kind of prove that it works in an online setting for retest validity. But like the larger point of the study is obviously like the legal implications of like, all you need is a witness to put someone in prison.
I mean, an eyewitness testimony is seems like a really, really malleable thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. I went to this conference in Vancouver. If anyone chat is from around there, shout out. But I went to this conference in Vancouver, and we had a speaker, Gary Wells, who had been on I think like the Oprah Winfrey show or Dateline or something like that, and he studies exactly that. It's kind of the legal ramifications of how malleable our experienced memory is, basically, and how we're actually putting, probably lots of innocent people behind bars just based on, I don't know, I think he was wearing a black t-shirt, or maybe he had a baseball cap, or maybe he took a credit card, took cash, whatever. See what I'm saying? It's
This is my cousin Vinny all over again.
yeah. It's an interesting.
There's so many ways that we are able to put innocent people into jail. Like maybe we need to.
Yeah.
If we could stop one of them, that would be a good start.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. Everyone at the lab takes this whole thing super personally, I think, or at least all the faculty. They're very, I don't know what their personal stories are, but they're very like personally invested in like, I guess the social ramifications of proving that an effect like this exists. Because if we can put science into legislature to say, actually, eyewitness testimony is way more sketchy than we've been treating it for like all of the history of law.
And could we make that retroactive? That would be.
Yeah, exactly. If we could use science to acquit the innocent.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Innocence Project, I assume? Yeah.
Innocence Project, that's the DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah,
It'd
that's also super cool.
It'd be great if there was one then that was also like anyone who's been solely sentenced based on eyewitness testimony. When there was conflicting eyewitness testimony, then maybe that should be looked at again. Are you studying sociology or neurology? Is there what part of this are you?
So, I just got my Bachelor of Science in Psychology last year, last spring, I think. Yeah, last spring, and then I'm hoping to hopefully go to grad school for cognitive science at some point in the next couple years, but there's a couple steps I got to do in between that kind of have nothing to do with grad school, unfortunately, but that's the plan.
So, but the study that you're involved in now, is that serving? What is that serving?
That's just kind of I guess academia is kind of a who you know kind of business, I guess, and so I'm just trying to build a little sort of goodwill, a little street cred in psychological circles, because my supervisor's thankfully really well connected. He used to be editor of some big journal here in the States, and so I have to like cling to this guy for dear life, basically. But yeah, hopefully that'll pay off in the future. I do like memory research.
Can you say what area you're in? Like what geographically, like as comfortable
Texas.
as? What's that?
I'm just north of Houston.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna get out there and vote this week.
Shit.
Yeah. Really behind enemy lines a little bit.
Yeah. Are you actually in Texas?
Yes.
Okay. So. Yeah. Wow. I'm surprised that there's funding to do the kind of stuff that you're doing.
Yeah. Well, the study that we're doing out here is actually with a school in Canada, which is run by like basically Marxists, which is why there's funding to do this kind of stuff. But yeah, psychology is like, I don't know, a hobby out here. It's not like a real science in Texas, apparently. But yeah. Have to do that remotely.
Well, go Ted. I've got my fingers crossed. So do you have something you wanted to talk about as far as like the theme?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. We talked about things I do for love, I guess, and the first thing that comes to mind is just all the stupid long distance relationships I got myself into.
Okay, I was gonna say if you said you moved to Texas for love, I was gonna be like, oh wow, that was.
Yeah, no, I gotta really like you.
Were you born in Texas? You don't sound Texan.
No, I was born in Colombia. I'm Colombian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I came here when I was like 2. So
right.
I had the incredible good fortune to get put on a phonetics program, so I didn't have like a super obvious accent or anything like that. But then the drawback is also I don't get a cool sort of cowboy accent either. So
I wouldn't worry about it. But I would have like if you had asked me to guess, I definitely would have said East Coast or Northern, even California or something. Yeah, no detectable southern twang there.
Yeah, maybe that's for the best, I guess.
So
Could be it.
you've mostly been in, would you say you've mostly been involved in long distance relationships? Is that?
Yeah. I think lots of my like earliest relationships were definitely long distance because so I'm 24, so I haven't been in that many relationships or anything like that. But most of like my, I guess, entanglements have all been sort of people that I met online, whether that was like playing games or they were like confession apps were really big when I was in high school. That's how I met a couple girlfriends was through confession apps.
Are you talking about like Omegle? Is that one of those random?
No, Omegle is more of like I think that's just like random sort of.
I don't know shit about the
more
stuff.
than it is. Oh, okay. You don't know about Omegle? Okay, well, I think Omegle is just.
A bit about Omegle, but I have no idea what a confession app is.
It's just like an app people go confess things like, oh, like, I don't know, I hate my wife or something like that. You know what I mean?
And then other people can see it and respond to it or do like a duet or some kind of thing with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a video platform, I guess.
Oh.
It was just kind of like I post, I write a note basically, and then I throw it into the void, and whoever finds it can sort of, I guess, open that. You know what I mean? It's very like, I throw this away, and maybe this will amuse someone else briefly, or someone can relate, or something like that. And then usually it just devolved into like, 18M seeking, and that's how I got started, unfortunately. But I met a bunch of cool people that way. I have a lot of people that I still talk to that I met on these kind of throwaway apps, I guess.
Would you say that? Well, so what would you qualify as like a relationship? Would you say a month? Like if you had to quantify it in time, do you have like a way that you distinguish? Like, yes, I was in a relationship with this person, right? Like, I mean, there are a bunch of different ways you can qualify it, right?
Yeah. I mean, beyond time, I think there's also kind of like the sort of commitment aspect. I think earlier we were kind of talking about like the sort of emotional distance that physical distance allows you to have. Like you can kind of, you see, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah.
For example, I'm seeing a friend right now who's in Seattle, and I'm kind of trying to take things slow, and being sort of far away kind of gives me that.
It's a forcing function, yeah, it's also interesting because it's stressful, and in a way, sometimes it's good to have that stress front loaded, so that, I mean, there is the other side of it, which is like you don't know what it's like to actually be with that person. That's a different kind of stress, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But I've certainly found that like one of the pros of long distance relationships is, especially if it takes a while to develop. Real quick, I hear an echo because I'm speaking and I can hear my own voice coming out of the speaker. Does anybody else hear? I'm just curious if anyone hears my voice echoing. I just want to be sure it's just me. Do you hear my voice echoing, Andy?
No.
Okay, then probably nobody else does, hopefully. But it's interesting that, like, maybe you could get some of that stress out of the way first, right? But I don't know if that's the way that it's worked for you. You said you're 24, right?
Yeah.
So what are we talking, like 4 or 5? Like how many relationships would you, like, let's quantify what a relationship is. Okay.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
Right, like the commitment part, right? If we say that essentially there's an agreement between you that, like, yes, you and I are exclusive, right? We are dating, sort of just the agreement between you two. You don't need to have met. You don't need to have been intimate, or at least physically intimate, right? Like, or at least physically intimate in the same room. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, using those criteria, and then maybe a timeline of at least a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are we looking at then, if those are the criteria?
All right. So basically, the agreement that we're exclusive, I guess. Like, you're my girlfriend, I'm your boyfriend. Maybe, I don't know. I think there's been maybe like like 5 or 6 of those tops since I was like, I don't know, 13, 14. And you know, you're 13, 14. That that's not really much of anything, I guess. There's not like a lot of depth to those relationships unless you're like
that's
going through something together. I guess
that's going steady is what it used to be called. I don't know what it's called anymore.
Yeah,
Right?
going steady. No, that's cute. I like that. Yeah. So maybe 5 or 6 of those, and out of those, I think. So there was. All right, let me think about this real quick. So there. Yeah, maybe a little more than half of those, at least started online, or were online at some capacity and at some point. Like the longest relationship I'd ever been in was kind of like a high school sweetheart kind of thing, and then you know we went off to college and then things fall apart, I guess, and so
that's like that happens to so many people, right? Like that is such a and
that's like
everybody
the quintessential, like post high school experience. You've got yeah. I was that friend that was always like fighting with my girlfriend on the phone. That was an embarrassing period of my life, but glad I went through it.
The other thing is everybody thinks they're going to be the exception there. You're like, well, no, you and I though. Like I know, like most people, when one of them goes off to college, or they go to college in different cities, it breaks it. But we'll make it, right? But
yeah, I mean,
very
yes.
difficult.
But I think you kind of also have to believe it for it to be true. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, let's just break up now. You know what I mean?
I almost feel like somewhere, even in like the 17-year-old or 18-year-old's head, they know the truth of what is actually going on there, and maybe it's slightly performative, and they're like, well, maybe this is gonna work, but I have to act like I know it's gonna work, but there's a part of me that knows it's probably not gonna work. I'm anecdotally kind of going off what I remember 30 years ago when that was me. So what is like the craziest, like, have you driven across the country to meet these people? Have you done anything like?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing a girl right now in Seattle who just came over. So she and I were friends in school, and because I went to school up in Canada, which is way closer to where she is.
But if you were in Canada near Seattle, so you were British.
Yeah,
Columbia?
I was in Victoria.
Okay.
If you know where that is. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it up there. I would live up there if I had the means. But yeah. Anyways, we met up at the University of Victoria, and we were just buds. And then the pandemic hit, and I was kind of classes closed. I didn't want to blow the money on rent, and so I just came home back to the ranch, I guess. And then things kind of went the way they did for everyone during the pandemic. I got kind of pent up and probably a little lonely, and so I started keeping better track of my friends and stuff. And then one of those friends just kind of like popped out at me, and then they said, "Oh, well, you want to do anything once this pandemic clears up? You want to go someplace?" I said, "Sure, why not?" Kind of offhandedly, and then that evolved into like, "Oh shit, well, I guess we're meeting up now." So I flew all the way up to fucking Seattle, like without really thinking about it too hard, I guess. And now I'm kind of embroiled in this thing like a year later. And I don't know. I can't complain. Like I like her. She's cool. I just I don't know. It's taking a shape that I'm not really like familiar with, I guess. And I'm not sure if. Go ahead.
Well, you're putting yourself out there. I did have one quick question. You said you went back to the ranch. Is that just a Texas expression for a house, or do you actually live on a ranch?
No, that's just an expression.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I wish I could tell you that I had like cattle in my backyard or something, but no. I just live in like a normal, boring old house. But yeah.
So how would this work out for you? Like, what would be the ideal situation for you?
That's a good question. I don't know. I kind of like things where they are right now, to be honest. got a cool personality, and she's very supportive, and she's not like in a rush to, you know, we have to get married, or we have to move in, or you have to come to Seattle, or I have to go to Houston. It's just kind of like, do your thing, I'm doing mine, which is like, I don't know, just the right sort of emotional arm's length that I'm trying to keep, I guess.
Well, what does that mean? You do your thing and I'll do mine. Like, are you seeing other people? Is she seeing other people?
Oh man, I hope she's not listening. But
Well, yeah, we don't have to. We don't have to. I mean, there's 19 people listening, so the odds are.
Well, all right. We're gonna throw our cards on the table and trust that the chat will pardon my transgressions. But yeah, I mean, we're not like a super well defined like boyfriend girlfriend kind of thing, and I've sort of I'd like to think that I've been pretty clear that we're not exclusive. I mean, I try to be as diplomatic as possible, so that's a lot of cushioning, and I kind of worry that comes off as like placating maybe, or like acquiescing, I guess. I'd like to think I've been pretty clear, but it's also kind of like I don't think I necessarily she could save me from Texas.
It is true.
My knight in shining armor. Beautiful. I don't know. I see other people, I guess. I'm not super serious about any of them, to be honest.
But these are local people. Or
Yeah. And also, I did kind of a tour of Canada this summer and hooked back up with some old friends and stuff like that. But, like, you know.
I mean, you're 24, right? Like, you gotta.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's difficult. I don't know what like your immediate area is like. Like, how much of your penchant for long distance relationships? I know you said a lot of it is like emotional, but also is it because like Texas, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to like just talk shit about Texas either, right? Like, I know, you know.
Feel free.
Look, I grew up in Florida, so like I have no grounds to like say shit about any other state, because as bad as Texas is, I'm sure Florida is worse in a different way, right? Like,
Oh yeah. Texas, I don't know. I like Texas. I've met some surprisingly cool people here. There's I mean, I would consider myself like probably a pretty progressive guy by Texan standards, which you would think you wouldn't really find a big group for that. But even here in Houston, which is pretty steadfastly conservative, it's you can find some people in your niche, you know, and artists and musicians and that kind of stuff. I don't know how they just come out of the woodwork somehow.
but I also think that like in a situation like that, there may be an element of us and them that that forces the smaller group of progressive-minded people maybe to value each other more, right? Because there maybe is this sense of, hey, you know, we look at each other and it's like, yeah, this is where we are, right? This is the way things are.
We did not row, so now we must wade. Yeah.
Very funny. I remember that.
Yeah. I liked that. That was clever. Tragic, but clever.
Yeah, pretty bad joke, but
yeah, probably. Whatever. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that I can. I mean, I grew up here, so I can get along with pretty much everyone in Texas at this point. I went on a date with this girl who's got like this past week I went on a date with this girl who I thought was super cool, but she's like got these fucking crazy views about like hydroxychloroquine and the coronavirus, and she's a nurse, and I was like, you're one of these. So
she's a nurse.
Yes.
Huh.
She's very she's got views that diverge from my own, but I guess she's the nurse and I'm just, you know, the fucking psychology student, so who am I to say?
Do you this, and feel free to say like, or not be comfortable answering this, but do you have family members who are ideologically on the other side of the spectrum from you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, my family's entirely Colombian, and the politics in Colombia, like, I don't know what you or chat might know about it, but it's been like constant conflict basically since we gained our independence. Just, you know, coups, civil wars, revolutions,
Yeah.
whatever you want. And there's a lot of very, like, it's in everyone's face because it's a small country and such a big conflict that it kind of touches everyone. You know what I mean? So everyone's got these, like, super impassioned takes on why things are the way they are, and I get the idea that my family kind of skews a little more to the right than I would. Like, we just elected our first socialist in Colombia, which I was actually pretty enthusiastic about, but my folks were devastated.
This is the election that just happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This was back in, like, September or August or something like that. Yeah, King of Spain came out and everything. It seems like Europe's excited about it, but I think lots of the Colombians, or at least the ones that I'm related to, are really worried that it's just going to go the way of Venezuela. And I guess, you know, they lived through a completely different set of things than I have. So, you know,
Venezuela seems to be like the poster child of, like, that everybody seems to bring up as the example of a cautionary
Yeah.
tale, right? Like, yeah.
yeah.
That's strange. The friend that visited that I was talking about was from Medellin.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, interesting. There's a large, obviously in Florida, there's a large Colombian contingent, a lot of South Americans, a lot of Cubans.
Yeah.
So yeah,
definitely.
just interesting coincidence.
Yeah.
And Angelica ASMR is Colombian / Puerto Rican, half Colombian, half Puerto Rican.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Not that that
I'll check.
matters.
I don't know.
Just occurred to me.
Yeah, why not?
So okay, so yeah, so you have family members who maybe you have to kind of, do you kind of suppress yourself at family get-togethers, or they just kind of tolerate you, or
I think we kind of tolerate each other. I think my folks are pretty good at kind of letting me have my own sort of convoluted beliefs as long as I let them have theirs, and then, you know, we coexist in that sense. But they do take it personally, which I think people should take their politics personally. By the way, I think that's the whole point of living in a democracy. IMO.
I feel like the older I get, the more, or rather the less flexible I am when it comes to being charitable to views which are too, I mean, it depends on how radicalized, like, somebody is, basically, right? Like, I will still speak with a fiscal conservative, but if you voted for Trump, like, I just don't even want to, like, what's the point of even having a conversation? I don't.
Yeah. Put on your clown shoes and leave.
Yeah, I mean, ideologically, we're never going to see neither one of us is going to get anywhere, and I'm not going to, like, try and pretend like I don't abhor what you stand for, right? So it makes it difficult.
Yeah, I think that is the sort of tricky thing, is that I do think that people should be, like, impassioned, but then I guess, like, the two perks of having a democracy is being able to agree to disagree, but also to, you know, be impassioned about what you believe in without fear of reprisal, I guess, or you know, particularly negative consequence, I suppose. I see how the whole free speech thing is getting convoluted into, like, kind of a big abuse thing, in my opinion, but you know, without getting into that too much, I feel like, I don't know.
I mean, the Speaker of the House just had the second attempt on her life made, right? And I'm no fan of Nancy Pelosi, right? But there is, I don't believe that would have happened without the rhetoric that's been being flung around.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely feels to me like we are, it's not even tacitly, right? We are giving permission by being dickheads, right, publicly. We're giving permission to people who are like, well, this person I bet you this person would be proud of me if I did this, right? Like, this sounds like something that this person would just love me for, right? So I'm going to do it. I'm going to break
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi's kneecaps.
Yeah. Well, I think the rhetoric also kind of really serves to like trivialize violence as well. Is kind of make it very, I don't know, when you colloquialize violence like the way Donald Trump did, I think it becomes a lot more accessible in people's minds maybe, and maybe in their behaviors, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
like,
that's an obvious point, I don't know, but
well,
to me,
you're right, and it's twofold, right? There is the politicized side of it, and then there's also just sort of the general desensitization to violence, right? Like, I don't know if you remember the last time somebody burned themselves alive on the Supreme Court steps, but it was over the summer. And the reason that you probably don't know about it, most people probably don't know about it, is because not that big a deal anymore, right? It just kind of happens, and everybody's just like,
sometimes dudes set themselves on fucking fire.
Yep, and then it happened in Brooklyn last year. It's not an uncommon thing, and the fact that like it might not even get a headline, right? Like it might just be like the third item down below something like, Trump insults so and so, or Trump endorses Bolsonaro or something like that, right? Like there's just so much of that going on that I think when you combine both those things, like this sort of desensitization to violence, which is a slippery slope, and I realize that like it's a very short path from that to violent video games are destroying our culture, and that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I do realize, I feel like I just sort of painted myself into an ideological corner. But I do feel like there's something there, right? Like we're less sensitive to violent acts occurring because we're exposed to it so much, and we're quicker to spout violent, polarizing rhetoric and under the guise of free speech, and it has consequences that we then maybe are better able to ignore because of the earlier mentioned desensitization to said violence. And I guess that's late stage capitalism for you, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tricky because when I think about like political violence, I think back to like, Colombia, where people are like, South America, where people are being like,
Yeah.
having bags pulled over their heads. Or
Yes.
being, like, shot in supermarkets by like paramilitaries.
Fucked up,
cartels.
yes.
Yeah. Like fucking Coca-Cola breaking knees in factories and stuff like that. That's late stage capitalism bullshit right there.
Well, but there you go, right? Like where are we going? Like, do you want to like see where we're going? You don't have to look very far.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird for me. Like, I don't know. Mentally, there's always been kind of a big gap between like, no matter how bad the rhetoric gets here in the States, I've always felt like, and maybe erroneously, but I've always felt like the States is always going to be like the worst rhetoric here is going to be better than the best violence anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Well, but when you say anywhere else, you mean specifically like
Like Colombia.
in Africa,
Sorry,
probably,
hang on,
right?
You cut out there. What was that?
You're talking about South America, Africa. Yeah.
I mean, wherever there's political violence, Spain, if you want.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's also like that sense of like the frog in boiling water, like slowly boiling water, or like do we?
Yes.
And if you step back and look at this like with a 50, 100-year view, actually that doesn't work, right? That doesn't work. Forget it. That doesn't work.
We're not playing with that kind of time anymore.
No.
Oops.
We were supposed to be talking about weird things that we've done,
Love.
or bad thing, or sort of breaches in like our character, or things that we maybe wouldn't have done otherwise. But it sounds to me like you seem like a pretty up and up kind of person. Like you're trying to be straightforward with the people that you're with. You have long distance relationships. You're at 24. Like honestly, you're forgiven a lot. sort of. You have a much
Yeah,
longer
yeah.
tether there.
Yeah, most of the folks I kind of talk to about this kind of give me something similar. I was like, you're a kid.
Well, but I don't mean that in like a dismissive way. I mean that more like
Right.
just you
It's the stage of
don't have to be
life.
quite as accountable because maybe you have not yet had as many experiences where it's been shown to you like, hey, when you do this, it is going to affect this person in this way. Don't do this anymore unless you want to be the type of person that affects people in that way. Everybody has to kind of discover those things to some extent to themselves for themselves. You can watch Jubilee a bunch, right, and learn a lot, right? But to some extent, you got to go through it yourself too, right? I do feel like it does seem like people know a lot more now, much earlier than they did, because a lot of this knowledge is kind of presented as entertainment.
Maybe.
Ooh.
Yeah. I guess I hadn't thought of that.
Well, but then that just makes me want to go back to like the sort of dehumanizing nature of entertainment, right? And
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing with I don't want to get into a tangent about the Dahmer series, but that.
yeah. So I haven't seen that, but everybody is talking about that, like deifying the guy.
Yeah. I mean, oh boy, I feel like we're gonna kick up a thing in chat, but I don't know. I saw it, I liked it. I think it was probably unethical, just because like they do kind of directly take aim at people that kind of profited from the Dahmer killings and the publicity that it stirred up, and here they are, 20, 30 years later now. Jesus, 30 years later, talking about like, how crazy it was, and digging up this stuff that's already been like mulled over time and time again. You know what I mean? Like new stuff, I don't think is going to come up about old serial killers and stuff like that. Like every once in a while, you'll get maybe like a scientific breakthrough that you can kind of revisit a case with. But really, this
How much of Jeffrey Dahmer's case was built on eyewitness evidence?
I don't know. In the show, they harped a lot on how they ignored a lot of potential witnesses, and that he like intentionally went into like under patrolled areas. He moved into a neighborhood that was full of like lots of ethnic minorities.
Yeah, he would target the marginalized also, right? Like, and I don't know if that was like a calculated move so that he wouldn't get caught, or if that was just his
Beyond me.
what he wanted. I don't know. I haven't seen the series. I did read quite a bit on Jeffrey Dahmer once a long time ago, but now I'm not close enough to it to be able to like speak to it to any way other than to know that dude ate people, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason to really like glorify that. It seems like this series is presenting him more as an anti-hero. Would you say that's accurate? I haven't seen it.
So I'm not really a very literary fella, I guess, but they definitely make him very relatable here, to the point where I think a lot of people watch the show and come out with sort of the conclusion that like he was somehow the most American thing. That's good. So I don't know. I think a lot of people after watching the show say, "Oh, he was just misunderstood. He just needed, like better parenting and stuff like that." And I'm like, okay, well, that's probably true for most of the people that are in prison right
Sure.
now.
Nicholas Cruz could have used some better parenting, right? Like,
Yeah, maybe a hug or something. Yeah.
It does not absolve you, right? Like, it's just like
Right.
it's more like okay, if we don't want this to happen again, we need to be aware of this and, not repeat history in this way, but not use this as like a way to get somebody off, right? Doesn't seem to be the way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The whole Dahmer thing is its own tangent, I guess. But
I don't even know how we got there. But
desensitization to stuff in
yes.
the media. So like
Yeah.
the way that kind of information about relationships gets sort of like I think hyper condensed for younger audiences a little bit. And I think I don't know. When I think about like my early relationships, which I guess all of my relationships right now are my early relationships, but when you think about like my earliest relationships, I don't really remember having too much of a frame of reference from like the media, I guess, as to what I was supposed to be feeling or how I was supposed to be acting, I guess. I feel like a lot of like fucked up things I did in my relationships were more about just kind of like the world I was in, I guess, and the folks I surrounded myself with. Not to shit on any of the folks in my circle, but just kind of like there are things that I think come off as a lot more not accepted, but more sort of embraced as a fact of life that I think people in kind of a North American setting tend to like, I don't know, pathologize a little more.
Can you be more specific?
Like infidelity, for example.
Right.
Like there's so much like playful humor around infidelity in Latin America. Or at least in my family. I don't know if the other Latin Americans in chat are going to agree, but at least in my family, there's a lot of like playful humor between family, between friends, around infidelity, and it's very like, it's not that if you found your spouse cheating on you, you'd be like, you kidder, you know what I mean? But if
No,
it go ahead.
I think you're right. I mean, I think there is like, at least from like my observations growing up in Miami, that typically, well, I'm speaking mostly about Cuban families, but there was sort of like this almost maybe 20 or 30 years behind the curve as far as like masculinity and hypermasculinity and toxic masculinity, and sort of the idea that it's okay for like the husband to do whatever they want, but it's not okay for the wife to do anything, right? Like that sort of view.
Heaven forbid. Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of that kind of played into mistakes I made, I guess. Like I definitely fucked a few things up with infidelity when I was younger, I guess. Like one of my longest relationships, I think I fucked up big time. But I think partially because like I didn't really, I mean, personal accountability where it's due, I guess. But I think the line of reasoning for me going into it was a lot more casual than I see it now, I guess. You know what I mean? It was very like, I don't know. I think it was also the age I was at, and people kind of, like you said, kind of forgive indiscretions a little more readily when you're a little younger. And so people kind of talked about it with me in a very sort of kind of way, if that makes any sense. And so when I went into it, I was like, not that I thought that it wasn't a big deal, because I carried a lot of guilt with me for a long time, but
did and it destroyed the relationship?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least like hobbled it, lobotomized it. Yeah, like definitely we hung on for a decent while after that, but I think that was definitely like the beginning of the end. And I think if either of us were any smarter, we would have ended it then and there. Yeah. Bless her.
This is almost exactly what happened with me in sort of my first very long-term relationship. I was unfaithful. We managed to hobble along for about 6 months after that.
Yeah.
And then it just could not sustain. Like ultimately it was a combination of like, I think it fundamentally changed the way she saw me. And
Yes.
I was constantly sort of under this idea that, not literally, but I did feel it to some extent, that it was sort of like, okay, I have no grounds to be suspicious of anything. Like she essentially could do whatever she wanted, and
step on me.
yeah, and I that's not really sustainable, right? Like what I feel like the only way that could ever move forward from that stage is either there's like a huge amount of time, talking a year or more, where you're not together and you end up coming back together and then you're sort of starting at square one again. Or if you're able to kind of work through it in a way that I would think would be difficult for me, it would have been difficult in my early 20s, would have been difficult in my 40s, in my 30s, right? Like it would have been difficult no matter what. But I mean, I guess it can happen. The question there would be like, are you then in a healthy relationship, or are you just perpetuating a situation that's where it's going to happen again?
Yes. Agreed.
And it's like once you kill somebody, it's so much easier to kill a second person, right? I've heard.
Foot in the door thing. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. For me, it was definitely like, I don't know, sort of as we're hobbling along, I definitely resonated with this whole idea that like you can do whatever you want to me now, because I did the ultimate fuck up, you know what I mean? Like short of like killing your parents or something like that. That was it. I fucked up, and so now I'm in like timeout. Basically, was kind of the way I saw it, and then I just took all kinds of things, and she started treating me way worse because she was like super suspicious of me, and I just kind of dealt with it because I didn't feel like I had a right to expect any better, because if someone had done the same thing to me, I think I would have been pretty righteously pissed at them, you know what I mean? But I don't know. There was a point where I realized that I wasn't trying to make it work and really just kind of like accepting like a self-inflicted punishment, you know what I mean? I was allowing myself to like be like walloped emotionally.
Right. And you were being penitent, but like, when does it end, or does it end? And
right.
Honestly, once it ends, then it seems like, okay, so I did that, and it took 6 months of me being treated this way. So if I do it again, that's the price I can expect to pay. Like I wonder if there's like ever any coming back from that, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I do too. I know couples that seem to have patched things up, but I don't know. From kind of my own experience there, I don't know if maybe I'm just not the kind of person, or I don't have the kind of relationships that can bounce back from that kind of thing. But for me, it just felt like, I don't know. The way I saw it is, I thought I was like, penitent. Like I was kind of paying my dues to my partner, to myself, to the relationship, because I was kind of putting up with a certain amount of stuff that I wouldn't have otherwise, to, you know, sort of make up for what I'd done. And then I guess sort of the implicit assumption is that like, okay, this is going to move things into a phase where things get better, and we're going to have like an upward trajectory, and then we're going to be stronger for it, you know? And maybe that's true for other couples, but for me, I realized that all I was doing was building a dynamic and just perpetuating the system, like you were saying earlier. So I don't know.
Will you do it again?
What, long distance or?
No, be unfaithful.
Oh, Lord. I mean, I think the default response to that is no, right? But then life happens.
This is exactly, yeah. Sort of exactly my point, right? It's like, even knowing what it does and what it can do, right? Like, it's not like I'm unfaithful. Like, it can seem like, oh, jeez.
This is good.
I feel like when something like that happens, it's kind of like when you have a near-death experience, right? Like there is a period of time in which you're like, I am never will that ever happen again. I can't do that to somebody. I can't take that. It's unnecessary. It doesn't, like, there's no reason for it to happen. If it was something when I was very young, I could be like, well, you know, maybe it was because of my inexperience or my inability to say no or my desire to please others or whatever the fuck the excuse is that you come up with.
Sure.
10 years later, you're a new person, essentially, right? Like, and you can make that mistake all again for completely different reasons, and it feels almost like a different mistake, but it is the same mistake.
Huh. Yeah. It emerges as the same mistake, I guess.
I mean, the ultimate act, the betrayal is the same, right? Like, for whatever the reason is, right?
Yeah.
But for what it's worth, right? Like, I've never been in a relationship where I have been unfaithful, where that relationship has not ended within 6 months of that happening. And 6 months was actually the longest. Like, other times it was just like, even if the person didn't find out, I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't continue it.
Yeah.
So I know that there are people, I guess, who can, and I don't want to judge them, but there's got to be something wrong with them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky. I want to believe that it can work, that you can patch things up. But maybe that's just because I'm afraid that I'm going to just keep making the same mistake, I guess. I think that's kind of what's got me, like, in a knot about this person I'm seeing right now, is that, like, I'm, they're not really, like, my partner exclusively, but I'm still carrying this kind of, like, I don't know.
Well, we've got a surprise for you, Andy, because calling in right now is...
Yes. Perfect. Great. Bring them on.
No.
Let's get this out of the way.
You can just get it out in the open, talk it through.
Yeah. Gonna go find some cattle to trample me after this.
I don't want to keep saying, like, you're young, right? Like, so, but
Go nuts.
you have plenty of time to make mistakes and to learn from them, and then to make them again, and to learn from them again. Maybe learn the opposite lesson. Like, you
Yeah.
it could go the other way. I don't know. But all right, I'm gonna call it a night, unless there was something you wanted to go over, Andy. I want to be sure that I'm giving you the opportunity to talk about whatever it is that you wanted to talk about.
Man, I think we've just about talked about my whole life there. I think that's yeah. I can't think of anything else, honestly.
I'd be interested to hear the results of the research experiment.
Posted.
If it's able, I don't know, at some point, if it's going to be public, or if it's something that you can check in with, that'd be great. And it was awesome talking to you too.
Yeah, likewise. This is a lot of fun. Call in some other time.
Yeah, definitely. Please do. Good.
Right on.
Cool.
Right on.
All right. Have a good night, Andy, and good luck
likewise.
with Seattle.
Deal. All right. Be
All
well,
right.
man.
Talk to you later.
Yeah, likewise. Bye-bye.
That was nice. Wait, now let me turn this down, because I really do need to sort of be reset up for interviews, because that's just not a great way to do it on my end, because I can't really hear. And then I hear myself echoing. But other people are calling. Katerina, I see that you called. I'm pretty tired, so I think I'm going to end it for the evening. I wanted to, get a new voice, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I apologize, Katerina. We can do next week if you are around next week. So what did we learn from this? We didn't learn anything. Did we learn cheating is bad? Stacy, I don't know what you're saying. Don't forget about you. Okay. I didn't get a call from you, so I'm not sure. Did you email me? Oh yeah, a couple of people did. I'm sorry, I missed it. I got caught up in that call with Andy, and Like I said, I'm tired because I'm old. Because I'm not fucking 24. What do you want from me? Oh shit, why was Siri just on? Yeah, there was a bit of echo. I mean, I could hear it. I know people want to call in, but I am tired. So I think I'm going to end it, and we can maybe do it next week and I'll try to keep the calls shorter so that we can get through more of them. Bear with me, please. Oh, look at this. Yeah. Good luck with that. Yeah, I think that's what we got from this is like cheating. Cheating is bad. It's not good for relationships. It's not good for your own mental health. And it's still going to happen. You learn things and now you have questions that are none of your damn business. Well, then good. That is a successful question prompt, I suppose. I would call it. Feel free. Well, if there are questions for Andy, I can't do anything. But if you have questions, I'm happy to either give answers or say none of your damn business. But even if it's not your business, I might, as long as it's not too personal, be happy to answer it. But not tonight. Tonight I am removing the mantle and putting on Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities in the hopes that one of them will be interesting because, well, that's not true. One, the autopsy is interesting. If you're watching season 1 of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, the autopsy, good. The rest of them, not so thrilled with them at all. The Lovecraft adaptations, one was okay. Pickman's model was okay, but not really like the story. But the Witch House one was just, I don't know what that was. I couldn't even finish watching it. Yeah, no, I know. Colorful. We're all human. None of us gets out of this alive. And on that note, everyone have a lovely night. And I'll see you all soon. Oh, Q, I just saw you. Hi. Yeah, the autopsy is my favorite. People were all saying the murmuring was great. And I thought the murmuring was terrible. Was the most boring sort of fait accompli. Know exactly what was coming. From about 10 minutes in, you just knew. And also, Essie, the actor, while they may be very good, they don't do a good American accent. And I found that distracting. But anyway, if you have a ghost story where at any point in the story you are telling a child to come into the light, you gotta go back to the drawing board on that. Do something about that. And they're coming for me. So, what have I done this time? All right. Sleep well, everyone. Good night.